So I grew up here on Dakota land, and I'm thankful to inherit such a beautiful landscape with all these relations. And I feel it's my responsibility to live in right relationship to the land. So we're located in the city of Egan, and there's a beautiful stand of oak trees and elm trees and ash and an understory of wild ginger and ostrich fern and prairie cone flowers in the sunny spots. And this is where I grew up. I spent a lot of time outside picking dandelions and blowing their seeds across the landscape to inoculate new pockets of earth. Unknowingly, most likely, it was pretty much just fun doing that. That's probably part of the dandelion strategy. The propagation is being a fun plant to disperse. It's possible. And the land here really became a farm when my dad built the chicken coop when I was in 5th grade, and we adopted 30 chickens. They all had names, of course. Some of the more memorable are Jumper and Oreo and Gifted Chubby, who was a silky chicken, basically had a large poofy soft coat and was truly gifted in chubbiness. We went on to to host ducks and heritage turkeys and sheep and goats, and even had Sir Henry the cow, who is, I would say, the apex of farm animal life here. And really pushed our boundaries as what kind of animals we could have here on our small piece of land. But I always felt more of a deeper resonance with the woods. And one of my most memorable memories being in the woods was when I was in 6th grade and giving my sister a piggyback ride up in Anishinaabe territory in Itasca State Park. And it was fall time, and the mushrooms were out. The ground was just quilted in various colors and shapes and sizes and strange forms. It looked like aliens had come and inoculated the landscapes with their own, spores from different planets, because I had never seen anything quite like this. And my sister and I both just got a digital camera, and we spent hours taking photos and enjoying the beauty of the mushrooms. Fast forward about 15 years, I'm quite a bit taller, maybe just a little bit wiser, and married. And Alicia and I are taking our honeymoon camping around Lake Superior, again in Anishinaabe territory, and the mushrooms are out. And if you've never been out when the mushrooms are out, I really recommend that you figure out how to do that, because it is truly part of, I think, the human experience. It's so beautiful and strange, and I was captivated again by these fungal delights. And that day I actually went and got a guidebook, my very first guidebook, and that next morning I was cooking my first mushroom breakfast, which was far less than scrumptious, but it was edible, and I had no negative repercussion effects on my body. So I felt empowered to keep on learning about mushrooms and foraging. So after our trip around the lake, my wife and I moved in with my parents into our home in Egan. And shortly after we moved in, I noticed some redevelopment being done in a place that was near and dear to my heart. And the trees were being cut and the soil was being squashed. And with my new understandings of fungi and their importance in the soil and the integrity of soil and that's importance to everything that happens above the soil, I felt very angry and sad that this was happening to a place that I really cared about. So I was just so happened to watch Paul Stamets' famous YouTube video, How Mushrooms Can Save the Planet, and I got some ideas, and I thought, hey, maybe me and some mushrooms can help save a small piece of the planet over here. So I partnered with shiitake and oyster and lion's mane and gathered up some of the limbs from the felled trees from the site and and brought them back to the farm and inoculated about 200 little foot-long logs that spring, which I would later find out, today I inoculate logs that are 4 feet long for a host of reasons, but that was at the very beginning of my learning curve. And those logs hunt out in the backyard all season, and 3 years later, I have about 1,500 logs, 4-footers in the back, and mushrooms growing on compost and growing on wood chips and growing out of buckets, and a lab, and mushrooms pretty much growing out of my ears, with a small-scale commercial production. So this farm is about stepping into a new story, one of creation, one that recognizes the earth's body and our bodies as sacred and deserving of deep respect and life. So how we do that is by generating real earthly wealth. So we build soil over the bedrock. We build biodiversity into our ecosystems, and we build community amongst ourselves socially. And when we can do that, we'll have this beautiful abundance that is true and is grounded and rooted in the land and in our communities. And we won't have to feel like there isn't enough to go around, and that we need to hoard, and that we need to save, and that we need to isolate ourselves so we can be more efficient and make more money, because that is the old story. I welcome you to join us in stepping into the new story.